So first of all, thank you guys for joining us and welcome to Voice News Network.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So, I read about this amazing project that you have come up with called the Blackfish Project. Tell me about it. What is it?
Well, the Blackfish Project, it started a few years ago before the pandemic, and we'll explain that in a little bit as well. But it's a multi-genre music-based project that's composed by Keyan, who you see over here, Keyan Emami, and it was commissioned by my string quartet, the Ton Beau String Quartet. We commissioned this in 2019, I believe, and it's loosely based on a story. It's actually a children's story called The Little Black Fish, or Mahi Siyah Kuchulu in Farsi. So it's a Persian book that a lot of our friends, my parents, generation like before us and our generation grew up with, and it tells the story of a little black fish that's wondering what's on the other side of its pond, and so it gets really brave and wants to go and explore, but everyone's like, no, you can't do this, and this is going to end up in a lot of trouble for you, but he persists and goes and explores the whatnot and has a whole bunch of different experiences. But the book was also written with a really clear adult audience in mind. So it's really written like for adults and children alike. And so we're kind of seeing it more from the adult lens. And so Keyan can explain a little bit more about the process of how we came up with it. But the Blackfish Project is basically interpretation of that book through the adult lens, and we've drawn it up in 4 parts. So it has the music that was commissioned in 2019, and then the album recording. So once the music was written out, then we rehearsed and had an album recording, and this already happened amazingly despite the pandemic. And then the 3rd part is the concert, which we'll do it with the album launch at the same time, hoping to do it in the spring. And the final part is the film that's being made for the Blackfish.
So I will come to all of these parts, like, about the film, about your, recording experience during COVID-19. But Keyan, if you want to add more to this, like, what this project means to you.
Yeah, that's a very great question. Actually, it was a very unique project and journey for me. And when I wanted to start writing music of this little black fish, I experienced some difficulties and I was disappointed because, first of all, I was in the last year of my doctoral program at U of T, which was very demanding. And I realized that I need to do my last 2 projects at the school from the scratch again. And also, we all experienced the COVID-19 pandemic, which made a very hard situation for all of us. And besides that, I was supposed to write my music based on the Little Blackfish story, which started, with the monotone life of a little blackfish in a pond, and I wasn't sure if it could be a good subject for writing music for the first movement of the Blackfish. But at the same time, a number of events helped me to shape the Blackfish music. The first one was a movie called The Touring Horse by Bellator, and it showed me how artistically the director described the very dark atmosphere of the repetitive life of 2 farmers, a father and a daughter, and their horse for almost 3 hours. So it came to my mind that any theme or subject has the potential to be transformed to a great creation. Meanwhile, I was completing my research at U of T about the narrative of contemporary Canadian Persian composers. And in one of my sessions with my advisor, she said, why don't you write about yourself as an immigrant composer as well? So it was a very great moment in my life. And the very last thing was another phrase I heard when I was watching the Oscar 2020 ceremony. One of the winners said this quote from Martin Scorsese: the most personal is the most creative. So I decided to write a musical autobiographical work which draws parallels between my own personal life and the life of the little blackfish.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the amazing part about the Blackfish project is this, the team comprises of like people from diverse backgrounds. Like I was reading about the team members on your website. Tell me more about it. Like what was the process like to, bring all of these people together?
For me, it was one of the most exciting parts of the project. It was really putting together all my friends and colleagues that I know, that I've met over the years, and kind of like choosing and discussing with Keyan who would be suitable for this. Well, the basis of the project was my string quartet. So it's 2 violins, a viola, and a cello, and we've played together for many years. And the group's actually been in existence for over 10 years now. But so that was the core of the group. But when talking to Keyan, we kind of wanted to make it a little bit more just a little bit more exciting, a little bit more out there and experimental. So we decided to add instruments, and that's when it became a lot of fun. So one of the first people that came to mind to add to this group was a really beautiful, amazing Syrian clarinet player by the name of Maj Sukar. And he's an incredible. I don't know if you heard of him, or if you can check out his Instagram. He's a very well versed Middle Eastern clarinet player. He improvises really beautifully, very soulful clarinet playing. It's very different than your like Western clarinet, which is just a lot more structured, and he can play very extremely freely. And we thought he would be an excellent match for the story of the Blackfish and the Blackfish project. He's also versed in jazz, so he's kind of combining that, which takes me to the next person we chose, which is Andrew Downing, an incredible bass player. He comes from the jazz world, and he's got this capability to not just play jazz but also connect with other styles of music, so classical to like the Middle Eastern music to other kinds of world music. He's just done a lot of collaboration in his life. He's like a Juno award-winning player, and very phenomenal. So we're very actually grateful to have him in the ensemble. Privileged to have him. And then we have 2 more percussionists who are playing a whole range of percussion instruments. So they're playing many instruments that maybe Keyan can explain some of the instruments that the percussions are playing. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, the most important one is the vibraphone, which is a very important instrument in the ensemble because of it elaborates the sound of the little blackfish in my mind, and I really love the way that Pino plays that instrument.
Pino is one of
there
our
are lots of
players,
other
yes.
instruments. We have Eastern percussion instruments like tombak and some other instruments which are similar to that, for example. So they have a very good relation, and it shows very good my background, as the immigrant composer, and also we use a variety of different classical percussion instruments in this project too.
So was that a conscious decision to bring all these instruments from from different cultures together?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That was a big part of the project, that we wanted to kind of cross genres quite a bit, not just a little bit. We wanted to really go and make a big mix of different things. So in our recording, that's we're working on. It's not it's not released yet, but we've recorded the material, and you will hear things that will sound like very classical string quartet sound in some parts, and parts that sound like a Middle Eastern movie music, very soulful and emotional. And then there's sections that maybe, there's electronic music in there that Keyan is superimposing on it. There's jazz, there's a lot. And I think bringing all of this together really just makes it more, tells the story better.
Yeah.
And it just helps us be more expressive.
And with our instruments, we try to imitate the sound inside the story. And in my background, with just acoustic sounds, like for example, seagull sounds or water sound. They are not recorded, and they are just imitated acoustically with the real instruments.
Yeah. So you have a fantastic name for the project. You have an amazing story behind the project. And as you mentioned, you have like great team members. But if I ask you, what is the goal? What is the message, the aim of this project? What would that be?
Yeah, it's ties back to the story that it was, inspired from and is adapted from. In that story, it's the little black fish. Yeah, it's crossing the pond and trying to find the world that's beyond the pond, and expand its horizons and learn more about things, the unknown. And in some ways, we're discussing this, with our film director as well, and we're kind of telling the story that we're all black fish in this world. We have a lot of unknowns. There's lots of stuff that I don't know about, that Keyan doesn't know about, and we're all of us in a way. What we're trying to do with this project is to really emphasize that we can each kind of dive into the world of the unknown and learn so much more. There's just so much to be learned, and it kind of reflects like Canadian society in a way as well, because we all come from all these different backgrounds, and each person brings something new, and that's what really makes Canada so great, is the ability for each person to come and express themselves in their own language and in their own culture, and at the same time take learn from other cultures and then create some kind of mixture of the two or three or many. So I think our goal in a way is just to remind our audience that we are all black fish.
Yeah. Keyan, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I totally agree with Bijan that we try to find our way and think about our past, especially me when I was created the work. And that was a very unique experience for me to retell my story and the story of the little black fish, because I read that book when I was very, very young. I think I was probably 8 or 10 years. And then when I got back to that story and read it again, I realized that the message in the story, which was very interesting for me, was that I could see myself as that blackfish as well. So that was a very, very wonderful thing inside that story for me.
Mm-hmm. Bijan, you
it was like a mirror for me, I could see myself inside it.
Yeah, as a blackfish.
As a blackfish, yeah.
So Bijan, you mentioned about the unknowns, and you told me that you guys did most of the recording during COVID-19 restrictions, and again, that is something which we never anticipated. So what was the experience like? Were there any delays, and what were the challenges that you guys faced?
Yes, that was we was just delay after delay after delay. It was very tricky because we commissioned this. We'd applied for a number of grants before the pandemic, and then we'd received we'd been awarded these grants so we could start work. We were very excited to start, and then the pandemic hit. So it's just I was calling Keyan every day basically. We're like, all right, so what do we do? Can we do this? He said, no, this doesn't look good. We can't. No, we're not allowed. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. We just have to wait. And then after a while, I just got so impatient that I was reading it into forums, finding about how did people play online together, not just the way that they record and then they sync it up, but actually to play together in real time. and it's extremely challenging because of what's known as latency. So as when you play something, the person hears it like a little bit late.
Yeah.
It might not seem like a big deal, but like for musicians to actually rehearse, like even that little tiny bit of delay messes up everything. Like you just get slower and slower, and you just because you're waiting for the other person to play. So I figured out we did some research, and then with Keyan's approval, because he was the one with the money for creating the project, so he funded this endeavor to go and purchase a whole bunch of equipment that we can connect our, make a really solid, robust internet connection with, microphones and everything. And then I drove to each person's home and dropped off the equipment to their houses. And then, Keyan and I did one-on-one sessions with each person, helping them set up. We use a software that's called Jamulus. There's a number of software, but this was the one we settled on. So we did like this, in the middle of pandemic, in the middle of like the first lockdown, we're just calling up people and being like, okay, so you got to do this, do that, and it didn't work, and we had to like, diagnose it. It took a lot of time, but in the end, we got everyone on board, all the players, and then we ran our first session as a workshop, because as part of the creation process, we had these workshops that Keyan was going to run his ideas by, and just to get a feel of like what it's going to sound with all these different players. Of course, we planned on doing that in one room at the time, but then this way we're like, at least we can actually get to hear what it sounds like, even though the people are all in their own homes. So we tried that. It was pretty successful, and the session got recorded. The recording was even higher quality than what you heard at the time. And so that was our first workshop. And then we're like, great, so we're going to do 2 more workshops like this based on the feedback we received from the first workshop. And that actually, I think that was enough of a push that Keyan could complete his piece after the 3rd workshop. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was like a miracle for me, because I couldn't believe that we have 9 different performers remotely, and they all played together on their isolated room, and it sounds okay. And this work is really, some parts of it's really experimental, and I couldn't believe that it could be happening. But this remedy helped all of us to move forward during this pandemic.
Yeah, so we just found a way around it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So Keyan, because you were the one who put money into this, did you think once that I should put this project on back burner for a while till the time the restrictions ease out?
Actually, yeah, we had a very challenging time. I wasn't sure. I contacted the grant offices in Ontario, Toronto, and Canada councils, and they were really supportive, and they could understand. And we extended the timeline because we're supposed to do it much earlier. So, but I thought that the time can solve this thing, and we had a great team. They were very supportive, and they were ready to do anything we asked them for. So with this great team and the support of the, all the people, we managed to, go ahead.
So the short answer is yes, Keyan hasn't asked for his money back yet.
Well, talking about money, your album is slated to release this spring, and you guys have reached the goal of raising $10,000 with a crowdfunding campaign. So tell us, how was your experience like, and what you have to say on this like amazing, exhilarating response that you've received from people?
Yeah, this was a bit of a scary experiment for us, because we've both done like some small crowdfund projects before, but never, this big and with this many people involved. So we thought, and it was getting late too, because usually you should do your fundraising, before the end of December. So it was December it happened, and we'd organized the video, everything was organized, but by the time we launched it, it was like 2 weeks in December. So Keyan and I were both very nervous that it's just going to be a total flop. We're going to raise like $100, But in the end, what happened is, as soon as we launched it, we had like all these people, like in the first 2-3 hours, who'd known about the project. they immediately donated and donated amounts like much more than we expected. So it kind of gave a big push. Like we got, 2, 3,000, like I think over $3,000 in the first 24 hours of the campaign. And that kind of gave it a lot of momentum. And everyone was posting, sharing, oh, this is an amazing project. Like you should definitely donate to. So basically just when they took it from our hands and they just spread the message, and it was, yeah, it was incredible. In 4 weeks we raised over $10,000.
Yeah, that was really great for all of us.
And especially honestly, sorry, Keyan, but especially like it gave us so much energy, that, oh, we're doing the right thing. It's you guys aren't just left to your own devices. People are there and really they want to support you, and they really are interested in hearing the final result. It's not just like, oh, you guys are desperate, here's some money. No, they want to really hear the project. Yeah. So that was very nice to get.
To me, honestly, it was like a light at the end of the tunnel. So I really, really appreciate it. All the support.
Yeah, certainly you're not complaining.
No, not at all.
That's right.
So finally, tell us about the art film, which is going to be the final phase of the Blackfish project.
Yeah,
Keyan, do you want to start that?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, finding the right director for this art film who has a similar view as mine was not easy. And we had interview sessions with several candidates until we found a very good fit. And not only the director, Hadi Dinebari, knows the word of the story and his author very well, but also he was very interested in the music of the Blackfish and our point of view about the project. So the director and I had many sessions together to exchange our ideas and shape our thoughts about this project.
Yeah, so a part of the one of the grants we received later, so this is after we created the project, we applied for some more grants to get this project to the performance and recording stage. And of course, grants they don't fully fund you ever, but they help you get started. So one of these grants was that we got money from the Canadian government from the Canada Arts Council to create a digital version of this project, which includes like a visual component to it. So we're debating about how to do this. We're looking to animation for a little while, but then we settled on actually doing a film, like an art film, and that's when it all started. And we found our our director, and then there was a lot of discussions of how we're going to do this, and yeah, we can't talk about it too much because it's a work in process, and it's very, very delicate, and it totally depends on the music. So our director he's basically asking us every day, he's like, is the music, is it done? Like, do you have the final version yet? So because he really needs to know exactly what it is until he can really start the work. So but yeah, that's the process we're in right now, and it's very exciting to be able to put a visual component to this music and kind of add another dimension to this project.
Yeah. So before I let you guys go, would it be possible for you to play something for our viewers? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, you mean on right now on Zoom? I would be able to play maybe a little section. Would that be okay, Keyan?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should I play the first movement? Here it is. That was a little excerpt from the first movement.
That is so good.
Mhm.
Really
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're excited to share the full work
Mhm.
in the spring.
Yeah. Well, I wish you guys good luck for your Blackfish project. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing this wonderful insight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. And we look forward to sharing more about this.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.